Good morning. Welcome to another segment of Beyond the Well here at Hopewell in Jacksonville, Florida. My name is Levy.
And my name is David.
Beyond the Well is a social interactive broadcast in which we stream live to the internet audience as well as the congregation here at Hopewell today about different topics as they pertain to the Christian community. So we encourage your feedback, and we also ask you to like us on Facebook if you'd like, as well as YouTube. We're on YouTube if you want to look at our past videos or even the video today later on in the week.
That's right. So we have a powerful topic today, and it's the power of prayer. And we're going to get started here with not necessarily a personal testimony, but my misunderstanding of what prayer is. So I used to think that prayer is, you get on your knees and you start talking to God, and all of a sudden like a huge rush of wind comes through the room, the sky opens up, and there's a beam of light shining on you. God's voice is as clear as day, and you hear him, but that's not the case. And Psalms 86 gives us helpful insight on what prayer is. So one thing that jumped out to me, at least, is there's nothing original within chapter 86 of Psalms. If we go back to the beginning of Psalms, even the beginning of the Bible, David is simply saying what's already been said about God. So what's that say to us Christians as far as our prayer life? That we don't need originality in our prayers, but rather reality with God. We need to keep it real. We are using God's word to bring light to our true and honest concerns, and we are allowing his thoughts to be reflected in our own thoughts. Furthermore, we're allowing God to speak to the circumstances of our lives.
That's good, David. And prayer is to accomplish God's desires for us. Not our desires for ourselves, really, but God's desires for us. Now, God will give us our requests as long as it is right in his eyes. So sometimes we have to make sure that our motives are lining up with what it is that he wants, what's in his will, his desire, what he wants. That's his will. 1 John chapter 5, verse 14, it says, "And this is the confidence that we have in him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he heareth us. And if we know that he hear us, whatsoever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we desired of him." Now, our carnal desires should never dominate our prayer time. So it's simply a matter of listening to yourself when you pray.
That's right.
Is it about you, or is it about God?
That's right. And we have several other questions we can ask ourselves when talking about prayer. So why we should pray, or to whom we should pray, how we should pray, and what we should pray for. But I want to just cover why we should pray. And the question, or the answer to that, is because we have great needs. Going back to Psalms 86, verses 1, 14, and 16, I'll just read a couple of them here. "Incline your ear, O Lord, and answer me, for I am poor and needy. Turn to me and be gracious to me. Give me your strength, or give your strength to your servant." So King David is clearly going through something here, but he's deeply aware of his need for God, and that's what drives him to this earnest prayer. He says, "Lord, I'm in over my head. I really don't know what I'm doing right now, and I have nowhere else to go." Our problem as Christians oftentimes is we don't see the need for prayer. We don't see the need for God, honestly. If we get up and we go about our day and we haven't gotten on our knees and asked God for his protection, his blessings, to lead and guide us over the course of the day, we're starting off wrong. We're ignoring the fact that Satan is still after us and he's seeking to destroy us. So we don't pray. We overlook our own corruptible being and how fragile we are. Our prayer should be, "God, show me my great needs so I'll be driven to prayer."
That's right, that's right. And it's just a matter of, just like you said, being honest with God and being real with God. Sometimes the most effective prayers are the prayers that are done in secret and in private. That way we can be transparent and we can be unashamed because he knows everything about us anyway. Jesus actually speaks about that in Matthew chapter 6, verse 5 through 13. He's talking about the praying, and then the model prayers at the end of that. But it says in verse 5, "When thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward." But verse 6 talks about how we should pray, and this is still Jesus speaking. He says, "But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly." So sometimes it's just a matter of just going into that private, secret place that we have and just going all out and just letting the Lord know what's going on in our hearts and in our minds. And then when it comes to the petitions and things of that nature, we want to make sure that it's lining up with his will.
That's right, and that's to understand who we're praying to. And that's obvious. That's the obvious answer, but we're praying to the one and true God. But in order to do that, we have to know who God is. We have to know his attributes so we can separate him from the phonies, if you will. We're going back to verse 8 and verse 10 of Psalms chapter 86 reads as follows: "There is none like you among the gods, O Lord, nor are there any works like yours." Verse 10, "For you are great and do wondrous things. You alone are God." So knowing God's attributes is important in really connecting to him. The things that he has done and what he promises to do is what gives us hope to pray for whatever we may need. So we understand that God is merciful. We need to understand that he's slow to anger, that he's abundant in loving kindness. And David is simply calling out God for who God says he is. He understands that God will intervene on his behalf, and he's simply trusting God to be who he is.
And that's good, David, because you said something very key. It's about understanding who God is. 2 Chronicles chapter 20. That's when Jehoshaphat is getting ready to, the people are about to attack him. I can't remember the exact armies, but he's getting ready to be under attack. Mm-hmm. So he calls a fast throughout all his nation, or throughout the whole nation. And then verse 6 through 9 is his actual prayer to God. But verse 6 through 9 is him just pretty much reading God, his resume. Are you not the God who delivered us from this? Are you not the God who has all power? Are you not the God who did this? Don't you have all this and this?
Right.
And he just keeps, that's what he did for those
right.
first, and that's what he did for those first few verses. And then in verse 10, then he tells God, okay, now here's what's going on. Right. Now it's not just to kind of get that stuff out of the way, but I've heard it said before up here that it's not about us reminding God who he is. It's about us reminding ourselves who God is. And sometimes, especially when you're in a situation that's very chaotic and you have a lot of things going on around you, it's important for us to take a moment and just kind of read back the resume of what God has done for us. And sometimes it's even as simple as just opening up the Bible and reading for ourselves, something that applied to what we're going through. Because there's nothing more authoritative, I guess. There's nothing that has more power than what God says. Because when we say what God says, then even the devil knows he has to fall under that.
That's right.
But
so Satan knows who God is. We should understand who God is. And going back to King David, so King David is a king. He's confident. He's supposed to know what he's doing. But in this instance, he's acknowledging that he doesn't know what to do. So, that being said, what things can keep us from getting a prayer through?
yeah, well, one of the things is unforgiveness. I actually have that in all caps on my notes here, but unforgiveness is one of those things. So you can't expect to go to God in prayer, have him to forgive you of what you've done, and you're still harboring unforgiveness for somebody else. That prayer is not going to go up, and that's actually found. That's actually found in Mark chapter 11, verse 25. It says, "And whenever you stand praying, if you have anything against anyone, forgive him, that your Father in heaven may also forgive you of your trespasses. But if you do not forgive, neither will your Father in heaven forgive your trespasses." Also, sin is another one. Isaiah chapter 59, verse 1 through 2, it says, "Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened, that it cannot save, nor his ear heavy, that it cannot hear. But your iniquities have separated you from your God, and your sins have hidden his face from you, that he will not hear." Another reason, we have the wrong motive. James chapter 4, verse 3, it says, "Ye ask and receive not, because ye ask amiss, that ye may consume it upon your lusts." And then another reason, the last one, is we don't believe God.
That's right.
James chapter 1, verse 6 through 8, it says, "But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea. He shall receive anything from the Lord." A wave of the sea driven with the wind and tossed. "For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways." So if we want to get a prayer through, we need to do the opposite of those things.
That's right. So we've covered a lot of things concerning prayer, and hopefully you're out there, you've gotten something from this segment that will help beef up your prayer life. We consulted Psalms, we consulted Corinthians, and Matthew as well. So with that being said, we want to introduce Pastor's sermon that's coming up. And the title of it is You've Got to Put Your Work In. It's coming from Proverbs chapter 6, verses 11, or 6 through 11. And till next time, continue to go beyond your church, beyond your community.
And go to the Lord your God in prayer. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you.